And he goes over and he grabs a chalk and he writes, he just started writing. And he wrote, "We will never run out of oil, period." Sets the chalk back down, walks out. He says, "I'll be back in 45 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves." Well, by the time he got back, we were throwing paper wads at each other because everybody had a different opinion about it. I mean, how is it possible that that would ever be true? But economics teaches us that it really is true. You will come up with some alternative before the last drop of oil is pulled out.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday Conversations. It is Friday.
It is. And we're here.
And we're here. We are in Liberty Lake. For those of you watching from home, everybody that is here in the room knows that because you navigated here. And we did leave a few people back in Spokane. So apologies to those that didn't quite get the memo, but glad to everybody that is here. And we're super excited for our guest and host this week. The topic, I'm really excited about it. But as is our usual, we're going to go around the room, introduce ourselves, let everybody know who's participating in this conversation and get things going. So I will start to my left.
Oh, it feels special. Okay. Well, I'm Emily Funston. I am a life coach, and I'm very passionate about helping people who feel stuck and frustrated in life to find the joy of God's promises for them.
Excellent.
Hello, I'm Zane Schwendiman. I'm currently working on my next adventure here, but also part of the initiative and also today's technology.
Yes. Our TEO no, that's not it. Technical executive. You're our
fancy.
Really reaching for that one.
My name is Brian McMahon. I'm a financial professional. I have a financial services practice here in Spokane, specifically with New York Life down at the New York Life office, and happy to be here.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Debbie Blackwell, and I'm new here, and I'm with LifeWave, the Bring Back Your Own Stem Cells with a Technology patch. It's not medicine, it's technology, and it brings back the stem cells that you were born with, and so that they can get to work as we're aging. Even if you're younger, if you want better performance, better sleep, better hormones, your stem cells can do it all.
Very cool.
It's awesome. I was almost late on the draw, just so interested in writing down everything you're talking about. I'm Debbie Ramirez. I work with Champion Empire, where we help business owners who are stressed out, overwhelmed, and stuck with all the possible directions to go, to get clear on their path with a customized plan and get paired with a deep bench of advisors who can guide them toward the life that they were created for.
Hi, I'm Dave Ribble from Standout Mastery, and I'll be back.
And I'm Gay Kruger Ribble, and there's a reason why I have that last name, favorite person. And I'm Dave's wife and his partner, and I help Dave with Standout Mastery. I'm also, I have a business called Standout Marketing Strategies, which is a promotional marketing company. I've been doing it for almost 50 years. So I know where the bodies are buried, but I help a lot of people with their promotional marketing so they can continue to tell their story. And then the fun thing is I'm also a diva. I'm famous for writing and directing and starring in the diva shows.
Love it. Welcome.
All right. Hello, everyone. Rob Roeder here with Edic Designs. When you get tired of all the technology problems and you're ready to ditch the pre-packaged and build your own platform, come speak to me, because I love helping people see what's possible and build the future.
Happy Friday. I'm Todd with LOMP, LOMP.ai. We are a patented software search engine for buyers, and we allow the buyer to be placed in front of the seller without being present at your computer.
Excellent.
Hey everyone, I'm Steve Hicks. I'm an online personal trainer. I help create custom fitness plans that are easier to follow and get better results.
I'm Leonidas Biron, son of Jonathan and Melissa Biron. Melissa's not here today, unfortunately. I'm currently working on a project and kind of helping my mother with her social media.
Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I am Jonathan Biron, host of Friday Conversations.
There you go.
And I also sell real estate. So if you are in need of a home or want to be involved in real estate in any way, I would love to have a conversation with you. And man, I'm excited. There's so many different directions to go here. Yeah, Melissa's missing, but we do have, oh, we forgot to, I'm gonna have you highlight yours and there's just too many threads going on here. So to all of those of you that are like, what is going on with John? Is he having a stroke? Yes, I am. Not literally, not literally. A stroke of genius.
There
Is-
you go.
is-
Work with that if you can.
It's all in the framing, John.
It's all in framing. Thank you, Rob. Okay, so one of the things we like to do here before we jump into our topic is highlight events that, and this is gonna play into the topic because one of the huge things about staying human in an AI world is getting in the room with other people. And so we do want to highlight opportunities for us to be in the room metaphysically, metaphorically, or really legitimately in the room. So
Just physically too.
just physically, yeah, metaphysically, that's a different conversation. We'll be having that in the after hours, Chad. Request your invite now. We like to talk about what events are coming up that we're planning on attending, events that we're hosting, or just events that we've heard about that we think other people should be aware of. And Rob, you had an event coming up that you wanted to highlight, so I'm gonna hop back to you after I highlight you for being our lunch host. Thank you for bringing up Nick Designs. And while we're on that subject, we are here in an amazing conference room at the Liberty Lake Portal, thanks to the Driving Academy, Precision Driving Academy. So we want to highlight them and thank them. We'll make sure that they get linked to in the bio description thing. But tell us about the event that you
Okay, John. Yeah. So this week I sat down with SIMBA, which is the Spokane Independent Metro Business Alliance. They are a nonprofit organized and focused on supporting small businesses from startup through growth stages. And I've known about them for quite some time, and I wanted to invite them to be participants. Hopefully, we're going to see them in the coming months. But they do a number of things that I figure we should all know about.
Yeah.
So for instance, one of their initiatives is they host and run a site called Live Local in the Northwest, which is a free directory listing of businesses in the Spokane area. The only restriction is you can't be a franchise, you can't be part of a big corporate culture. This is for true small businesses. And related to that, they also offer services to small businesses, such as their Small Business Resilience Network, helping them get their financials and other things in order for that. And their event is coming up on, I'm going to say it's May 16th is what sticks in my mind. I don't have the website in front of me, but they are doing their first fundraiser to raise money for the nonprofit. And it is a circus theme. There's going to be circus acts and things, and they're just going to be up on North Washington. There's a little show space in an old church that's been converted.
Awesome.
And they're going to be running that on May 16th. It's a fundraiser, so get your tickets, or sponsor part of the show, and come and enjoy.
Very good.
Is that something that we could maybe post for people so that?
Yeah, we'll be posting the details. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm very curious. I want to add that to my calendar, so we'll get that information out
Awesome, thank you.
post haste, quickly,
Most taste.
ASAP. And then the event that I wanted to highlight is something that Melissa and I like doing. We like to host kind of like dinner party things at our house. It's kind of a potluck style deal. And we've actually kind of been on a little bit of a hiatus. And next Sunday, we are back and we're making it a healthy happenings theme. So our health coach that we coach with is Craig Blanchett. He's kind of a big deal. You'll get to know him a little bit, but he's really an amazing, fun guy. to be around, and he is hosting it as a kind of just it's all of the things we normally do, the community, the get together, but with a focus on health, healthy living, healthy eating. So we do have information about that. We'll be sure to post it in there, but we would love, everybody is invited. You don't have to be healthy. You can just be healthy curious, or even like antagonistically anti-healthy. As long as you don't mind being around people that are talking about being healthy. So it's going to be a great time. We're super excited about it, and we would love to have everybody here for that.
Do we only bring healthy food then? Is that healthy?
It is encouraged to bring healthy food. Yes, yes. Whatever you define as healthy food.
Bring a head of lettuce or something.
A head of lettuce would be amazing. I know, I just can feel Steve Hicks's sarcasm, trying to figure out the most and yet also, yes, like technically or something. I feel it. I know it's coming. I know. Yeah, you've got a week to figure it out. A week and a half.
Write that down.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so without any further ado, this topic is just so, we're all thinking it, we're all feeling it, we're all holding the tension of it. And Debbie and Dave, like, I couldn't think of two better people to usher us into this conversation. So without any further talking from me, Debbie, take it away.
Excellent. Well, I'm really excited for our conversation today, and specifically I've been excited to get a chance to hear from Dave about some of his perspective on the AI situation. And really, you know, I actually don't like that word, using situation with it. The AI development, the AI revolution, right? Because anytime we use the word situation, all of a sudden it's like the word interesting. It's to be negative, but it kind of is, right? And I think there's so much to dive into when it comes to AI. But really, what we're talking about is the tension between technology and humanity, and particularly how do we remain human in an age of AI, because it's here. It's happening, right? It's not going away, and it's going to develop even further. So I'm excited for our conversation today, really getting a chance to host Dave Ribble on here on our Friday conversations. Dave owns Standout Mastery, and he is a master of not just standing out himself, but of helping others to be able to develop the skill set to stand out in a room. And really in a huge way, my experience with him is through making other people feel important. And that's the cool part, is that he's not just standing out, and he's not just teaching you how to stand out. He is teaching you how to make others stand out. And by proxy, we all grow and develop together. So I'm excited to talk with you, Dave, and we'll turn the conversation over to the group in a few minutes, but I'd like to start just by really getting a chance to get to know you. You know, you've obviously been part of this group for a while and have added a lot to it, but it's been a while since we've gotten to hear from you. And I'd love to give the group a chance to hear a little bit about your story. You know, the 5-minute version, which I know does not give it justice at all, but just how did you get to where you are? What led you? What are the things that led up to you deciding to start what you do? And particularly in light, anything that's in light of our conversation today around that tension of AI, but the place for humanity in it.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here, and I'm tickled that you get to be the one to ask me questions and things. I'm going to rely very heavily on a couple of people to my left here. Rob is one of my good friends, and he's also my tech guru, like he is for so many of you. And then my much better half, Kay, is right here. She's been there with me for 30 years, doing what we do. We met in the industry of promotional marketing, and got pretty good at, you know, scoring pretty sizable accounts with big companies in Los Angeles for a long time. And then 2008 came along. And what I thought I knew, I didn't know. I didn't know how to adjust to that. 60% of our business went away in less than 90 days. And I couldn't replace that business in a hostile economic environment. And I couldn't figure out what to do next. And so I started doing some self-examination. I still went out every day and hustled business with us, but it was a little tough to do that, and that's an understatement. Well, what I realized at that time was that I also had not fully understood the difference between surface connecting just to go get some more business from somebody and actually building an army, if you will, of people who would continue to refer business to you. Was that possible? Was it even remotely possible, or was I dreaming? So I started interviewing everybody I could get to talk to me, from the CEOs of the clients that weren't buying from us right now to anybody else and everybody else. And I read a lot of books and watched a lot of stuff on the screen just to try to really get a grip on this. And then I started writing, and I ended up writing this. I ended up writing a book called The Way of the Conscientious Connector, and we published it in 2017. And what came after that was that I had poured into this many more things that I should have known about how to build relationships and how to go from transaction to transformation and how to do all those buzzword things that I won't bore you with right now. But in the book is 298 pages of my whole heart in trying to understand a deeper way to do this, a deeper way that's going to stick around long after I'm gone. Is that possible? And should that be the goal? Should that be the thing that we really want to do? And published the book in 2017, got some traction on it, didn't really promote it. It just kind of filtered out of me and I got it off my heart. And then the next thing that happened was people started reading it and they said, well, yeah, but we don't know how to apply this. We need some help. Can we practice? Can we go work with you? So we started doing some of that. More recently then was we created Stand Up Mastery for that purpose, but then I started working with Rob on what other tools could we also create. And we're working on an AI kind of thing now where you could actually have me with you and kind of like have Dave in your pocket 24/7 when you're not in session with me or you're not in session with Gay, because Gay comes in too with a lot of talents and skills for presenting. She's an actress, 25 years actress, singer, dancer, director, and like she said, starring in some stuff now. So we come as a team, we come as two people that have had our butts kicked in a variety of ways, but also have had some successes. And we're teaming with Rob to put these tools together that will continue to support all of you. And it's quite exciting. It's quite an exciting opportunity. When we talked though today about, or when we talked the other day about doing this, and then Deb and I had some conversations, I wrote down something this morning that kind of might be something for us to argue about.
I'm excited.
I like it.
I wrote this down. You know how there's different sayings out there that people like to throw around. This is one to contemplate. Those who are saying that AI is taking over need to get out of the way so that the rest of us can get better at knowing how to use it.
Say it again.
Yeah, read it again for us.
Those who are saying that AI is taking over need to get out of the way so that the rest of us can get better at knowing how to use it. Would you agree, Rob?
Right now, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first one to admit that I resisted for a long time. I had my skill set. I knew what I believed and what I wanted to do. And it wasn't until about 3 weeks ago that I sat down with a bigger vision, realizing what I wanted to build. And I kind of just committed. I said, I'm going to create an AI lab and I'm going to learn this stuff. And honestly, the work I've done in the last 3 weeks has consolidated something I've spent 30 years trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of your perspective.
Yeah. So from the human side, for me, I'm right back to the way the conscientious connector. I'm right back to having relationships and doing those kind of things. That's not going to go away as long as we hang in and do our work and get good at what we do. I just don't believe that AI can do that. I don't think AI can take that over. What do you think?
Well, I love the confidence in that. And I think that to me, when the topic of AI comes up, the vibe in the room is a lot of anxiety. It's a lot of insecurity. It's a lot of questions. And I think that's fair, right? When it comes down to all the changes, really the unknown is AI is an unknown, even to the developers. Like that's one of the things that if you hear from some of the top developers, there are some concerns around it, right? Around what the future of AI is. But with that, here it is. And here it is to stay. And I think that part is really kind of the question. There's so many questions I'd love to grapple around today. But one of the top ones is just to start with, Dave just read a quote that I think would be worth some discussion. And really that question just to start with is, we'll get to the how do you use AI and, can we use AI to liberate us to be more human is really a very interesting question. But to start with, I think just a great open, broad question is, how does AI make us more human? And how does it make us less human? Because I think you can make a case for both right now. How are you seeing that showing up in your businesses, in your work, in your environment?
Okay, well, I'm using AI. I'm using chat, and I'm using the Ribble effect, which is the bot that Rob has developed for us. It contains Dave's book in it. So I use the chat for some of my other businesses, and I use the Ribble effect for standout marketing and standout mastery. And what I've discovered is when I create what feels to me like a more human relationship with the chat, I'm getting more human response from it. And it's like we were talking earlier, you feel like you have this really good relationship with yours. You as your AI begins to get to know you and understand you and understand kind of how you like to communicate and what role they want. In fact, I just told my chat, or the Ribble effect, my role in this, because I wanted to make sure that it knew I'm not somebody new who doesn't understand the way of the conscientious connector. I'm the editor of the book. So I'm deeply embedded in this material. It now is speaking to me in a whole new way. And we're having very deep conversations and challenging each other. And so when it challenges me, I go, ooh, that's really interesting. And I'll take that under advisement, but the thing that you don't know yet is this. And, oh, now I understand. Okay, that's great. Let's go down this road. So we're partnering. And it's like I have this assistant that I'm training to understand me, to understand the kind of information that I want back. And I'm finding that it's speeding up what I want to accomplish. So I have an end result that I'm trying to get to. It's helping me get there faster.
I love that. And that part of really kind of like that, you have this impact that you want to make. You have a business that you're running to bring to market to serve people who need it, right? So it sounds like the human connection for you is helping you to get there faster to serve the humans.
It is it. One of the things that's interesting about it is that it's very, the information is determined on what you give it first. And it will give you more general information, and then you, like an editor, like when I'm editing Dave's work, and I challenge him, I'm also challenging the information that's there. Said interesting information, but I'm looking at a more human side of this. I'm looking at how somebody feels about this, not just these steps. Oh, now I understand. And then it goes into really understanding that more and giving me more human answers. So, let's see, am I gonna cheat on Dave with it? No. We didn't have that kind of relationship. But I'm finding that this partnership is working. And it works because I'm in charge. it's not in charge, I'm in charge.
Hmm.
And so right now, when my friends, and you know, I'm 75, so my friends are all, AI's gonna take over, that, you know, it's gonna be the disaster movie. Oh my goodness, this is so awful. I say, well, until that happens, I'm having a terrific relationship with my AI.
I love it. I love, well, I think that actually might spur on a good conversation. Are we past the point that we're worried about that? Maybe the topic of, you know, being concerned of losing our humanity
Some
in the
folks,
age of AI is gone.
some folks refuse it.
Well, I
don't
just
like
have
it.
a contrary. We're talking about being human and AI, and you're talking about turning a computer program into a relationship. I just find that's an interesting concept.
Well,
Is that human or is that not
Good
human?
question.
It's not a concept.
It's these systems, you know, I'm using it on a daily basis, probably a dozen times a day, in my course of doing it. You know, eventually I will have staff, but it's taken over that transition period. The main thing for me is not having that relationship. It's just having the organizational skills to know the inputs. Because yes, you can put your thoughts into it and be very descriptive, and and take that information and get the outputs that you're looking for by giving it more information. That is a relationship. You're going to have a relationship with anything that's going to give you the ability to describe what you're looking for.
Right, we talk about a relationship with technology, a
Mhm.
relationship with the business world, or you know,
Yes.
in the sense of it doesn't have to be a human, right? But we do have some kind of interaction, and we
Correct.
call it a relationship for a reason. And so that's such an interesting point, that there really is kind of, and I think what oftentimes we fall into is that uncanny valley of that part where it feels human, where we're making it as human-like as possible, but then that part where it doesn't behave that way, it's a little bit off, right? I run across that all the time when I'm, you know, running across videos, and I
It's
feel
not
like
dumb
half
enough
the
to
time.
be human, there's not enough typos.
Yeah, it takes my ability to say that, you know, I'm smart enough to be dangerous in my field, but this thing makes me look like a genius.
Interesting.
It's wild the stuff I can accomplish during the day. Yeah.
Is there anyone here who's not using AI for business purposes?
Just kidding.
I was gonna say though, in terms of, like, we're talking about relationships, right, and maintaining those. So with any technology, the promise is, or you're gonna have more time, you're gonna have this freedom to do other things that you wanna do. So then it becomes less about the AI and, you know, is it replacing relationships or not? But, okay, is that AI giving us more time? And then what are we doing with that time? Are we using that time to then connect with our fellow humans? Or are we diving deeper into our own self? Because if also with AI, if you wanted to, it's trained to mimic you and to say what you want to hear. So that's the dangerous slope that I think a lot of people are worried about is, I don't know how to have a conversation because I expect you to just repeat back what I want to hear.
That is one of the training points that I've provided in the past, here recent past, is that these systems are developed in a way that they give you the dopamine hits, just like going on to any of the other social media. So you have to be careful with that, the use of it. But it is a double-edged sword. You know, having my 30-year career in the work that I've been doing over the years, the corporations or whatever nameless entities that are out there, they have trained us specifically to have this instant gratification. And I finally, at one point, I was like, it's tough. You know, being a fiduciary, there is a lot of back end work that I have to do to verify the information that I'm disseminating. So instant gratification isn't there unless you try to get it, you know, all online. Then it's like I want to say what I've been saying for the last 25 years because it hasn't changed. It's like looking at the internet is like looking at the Pacific Ocean with magnifying glass. You only see what you see. You don't know what's going on around you. You don't know the depth of that work, so to speak. So I see that this allows me to aggregate all that information and disseminate it in a very organized method and bring the humanity into it. And it offsets a lot of that time constraint for the consumer that's already asking for that instant gratification.
So when you say, bring the humanity into it, what do you mean by that?
It puts it into language that allows me to disseminate the information where it's actually understandable.
Wow.
Hmm.
So it sounds like you could make an argument that it is making it more human for the user, which is your customer. You know,
The
you
end
were technically the user, but the end user being your customer, your client, to say, okay, now I have a way to put it in your language without having to sit down with each person and have that individual.
Information overload is the biggest hurdle in our industry.
Interesting,
Which-
interesting.
Which is actually the point that I've, there's several points I wanted to jump in.
I'm right there with you, Rob.
We're putting all this on the AI right now, but I would ask you this, if you have any significant other in your life, go back to a moment when you first met them and compare the relationship to what you have now.
Hmm.
What was that experience like? Where you had to educate them with what mattered to you, what was important to you, the way you phrased things, so that it didn't create this,
Huh.
but you started to do this.
Mhm.
And it takes time, it takes effort, it takes a daily relationship. And the experiences I'm having is no different, with my AI agent than I've had with anyone else I've established a relationship with. I had to have an intent, I had to have an interest in having them be a part of my world. And then I had to give them information. The number of stories that I tell to my AI about my past and what I've been doing and how I've been doing it, so it can get that perspective. For me, it's the same process.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take them out for a date. But
Or you don't.
Or cheat on me.
But I am going to treat them with the same level of respect that
Yeah.
I do with anyone I meet. And then I am gonna be conscious of, watch the messages that are coming back and realize, okay, doesn't quite get it. More sharing, more, and then eventually it comes around and goes, oh, okay. And there's times I say, oh, you caught me. Yep.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you'd really have a very interesting perspective. One of the things that Dave and I were talking about was, and I won't put this on Hicks, this is not his language, but my question really is it that different? Or really, how is it different from any other new technology? Some of the conversation that we had was, over time, there have been all kinds of new technologies that have come out and have freaked everybody out and have taken a lot of people's jobs. From a different perspective, is it actually taking jobs? Because yes, it is, right? Like that's what's happening at face value. Or is it forcing us to adapt, right? And really, oftentimes we say like, we need a war to develop new technologies. We need a war to leap forward. And we hate that, but it's what happens. You could make a case that COVID did the same thing, had the same effect of, something massive on a global scale that forced us all to go and innovate and change. Nothing's the same before and after the world before COVID and the world after. We know that. But how much can we make a case for the world before and after AI, the world before and after computers, the world before and after any new major technology? And is it good or is it bad? That's, I think, that question that we keep grappling with of the fear factor that is legitimate. But then really kind of what do we do with that fear factor? Dave, I'd love to hear a little bit of your perspective. You mentioned a couple of other technologies, crises, things that came along where you saw people interact or react with the same kind of fear. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you observed?
You mean back in ancient times? I grew up on a 52-acre farm, and I can remember, as I came along, big combines were coming into to be used and huge equipment and things like that, and they could pave a highway, with one shot, stuff like that. And you don't think about it, you think, well, that's really cool, but how many people did it displace?
Mhm.
How many people had to figure out something else to go do? So I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, we call that the creative destruction,
Hmm.
you know, because when one thing gets destroyed, you have to build something else.
One other thing we did talk about was, I was finishing up at Chapman University and I was in a econ class on the first day, and it was way back in the early eighties when I finally finished and went through 2.5 kids and 30 years old. Econ teacher walks in that morning, didn't say anything to anybody, but it was right during what we call the oil crisis, where everybody was lining up at the gas stations and stuff. And he goes over and he grabs a chalk, and he writes, he just started writing. And he wrote, "We will never run out of oil, period." Sets the chalk back down, walks out. He says, "I'll be back in 45 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves." Well, by the time he got back, we were throwing paper wads at each other because everybody had a different opinion about it. I mean, how is it possible that that would ever be true? But economics teaches us that it really is true. You will come up with some alternative before the last drop of oil is pulled out. And that's kind of weird. But it is. We always, you said it last night, we always figure it out.
This is also part of our evolution as humans.
Yeah.
So, and interesting, a very predictable part. I mean, we can look back, 20, 30 years at disaster movies that are the thing that's in the back of our mind, but, oh, this could happen. Because we grew up with it and now it's here. I think about the Jetsons, the cartoon that I kind of grew up with, and those things that are in there are things that we enjoy right now. So how we evolved and how we adapt and adopt to our technology is very important to take a look at. The biggest challenge that every civilization has is that the technology moves faster than they do to help curb it or slow it down or stop it. And that's where the challenge for humanity, I believe, is. So you have ancient civilizations that allowed their technology to overtake them, and they collapsed. Interesting. There's a fear that's there, but there's no desire for people to not allow this to just, let's see how far it can go, because it's so cool. So it would be great if humanity could take a look at history and say, we can see what's happened in the past. Let's take this a little bit slower. Let's put some guardrails on it. When this was all kind of opening up and unfolding, we were looking for that to happen. We were looking for the people who put this out to have more guardrails on this, and they kind of didn't. So that's where I'm at right now. Now I know it's here. I'm going to use it. I'm going to learn to use it as best I can. I hope that I'm around to see that there's a lot of good that happens. But I do, because of my age, I do worry about after I'm gone, what do our kids and our grandkids, what do they have? How do they maneuver through what we've left them? So I'm kind of tossing that out.
I like it. I'm with Rob. There's so many threads here that like, I want to, there's something really funny that I was going to say when you first shared that I'm now not even, it's not even in my brain. If it comes back to me, I'll share it.
Okay, good.
There's a really funny, like, oh yeah, that'd be,
Second
it's clever. Yeah. We'll get into that in the after hours.
Give us a call later when it finally hits.
Yeah. I'll post it in the comments or something like that. the interesting thing, and I think we're all kind of swirling around this, and you said, you know, we will evolve. We will, you know, we're going to, it always has kind of destiny, it's gonna happen. I think that we piece of that needs to be carefully defined. Because I think that when we look at things that have happened, the oil crisis, the combine coming, we, the royal we, the populace, we survived that, we evolved. There's a lot of individual we's that did not do so well. There are, I mean, we can even see it in our community here where there's people on the streets that don't have a roof over their head, those we, for whatever reason, and you know, not that we would blame it on COVID, blame it on the 2008 crisis, blame it on, even you guys are a microcosm of a thing that happened.
Yeah.
And the Dave and Gabe that were before that didn't survive.
Yeah.
That Dave and Gay are no longer with us. Salute. The Dave and Gay that we have are amazing. And I wouldn't necessarily want to know the Dave and Gay that didn't survive that. Because you guys are so beautiful in who you are now. And so there's on the philosophical level, there's some like deeply personal stuff there. And also there's people that literally don't make it. We talk like famine, starvation, like there's parts of the world where like stuff that if we really got into it here, it would be a real heavy bummer to the conversation we're having. And so those that are like sounding the alarm bell aren't wrong. There's some devastating consequences that are coming as a result of this thing that we're interacting with. And the ones that are to the point of like, get out of the way are also, the picture I get is like surfing a wave, right? And whether it's a tsunami or the wedge in California that just shoots you way up in the air, like this is a wave. And there's some people that are gonna get on their surfboard, paddle in front of it, catch it, and just have the time of their life. Like this is gonna be amazing. And I'd like to think that I'm one of those dudes out there surfing the wave. Other people are gonna just put their anchor down, hold onto that chain and let that thing wash over them, and whatever is there on the other side of it, they're like, okay, I'm back out to the breakers, whatever that looks like. So there's a lot of ways to interact with this, and there's not necessarily a you're right and you're wrong. And yet there is something to be said for, and this is the piece that I was certain when you were talking about that importance of accuracy. I met with a guy that is a conservationist here in the area, pretty prolific guy, like really amazing guy. I hope, actually not, I'm gonna try to get him on the show. Really, it'd be a great conversation. But we walked a park near my house where he would like to see a bridge built. Well, I took a picture of the spot where he wants the bridge over the creek. It's near our house, so it's beneficial to me. And I hopped into Google's Gemini Nano Banana thing, and I said, hey, put a bridge here. And it did, and it was, the first one was not great, and so I reiterated it, looked cool, sent it to him. He posts it on Facebook, and it was right around April 1st. So April Fools, he posted us, here's the bridge in Campion Park that leads to the trails at the bluff and all this stuff. And he put in the post April Fools, but I was like, you know what? If I were to ask my AI about the bridge at Campion Park, it's going to find that, and without too much fact checking, might actually tell me there's a bridge. And so there's some interesting problems with this, where if there's no human at the wheel checking things,
Yes.
we can start to create. Now, a bridge that doesn't actually exist isn't the end of the world until your self-driving car tries to go over it. And then now we do maybe have some interesting real world problems. I did think of the thing that I was.
Okay, yeah, I just saw it happen.
Yeah.
There is a little bit more information within the statement that I made as far as accuracy is concerned, because we are using an enterprise system in which that ties all that information together. So.
And that's the guardrails.
Yeah, that is the guardrails, so.
So you were talking relationally and just how you interact with Dave's AI and all this stuff. I think coming very soon, and then we can put a little mark to this, pretty soon, if I meet somebody new, before we even have a conversation, I'm gonna be like, let's let my AI talk to your AI, and we can figure out how compatible we're gonna be. Cause my AI, like you guys are talking about, my AI knows a lot about me.
Wow, that's gonna be a whole nother statement that I'm gonna start scheduling with people and be like, I'm gonna have my AI talk with your AI.
Yeah, my people, call your people.
Well, I think that really kind of brings us back to a really interesting question, which is, I think Gay was talking about that part of what if we looked back at history? And to Jonathan's point, talking about like, where are the guardrails, right? Where are the people who are steering this, not just kind of letting it careen out of control? I think really is a good conversation for us around what is our role, right? Maybe we're not the people who are head of Google, head of like all of these major companies that are, investing and developing AI, but we do have our own part in it. Right. And really the question to me is, as we look back at history, at different technologies, now, is this different from other technologies? Inherently, yes. Right. It is an intelligence. So there is a part where, there is that unknown factor, right? That is risky, very risky. And when we talk about like, I wish that the people who were in charge were doing something. Well, what they're doing now is they're sounding the alarm bell and going, y'all, we might have made a big mistake. Now, that being said, while all of us derail in our panics, right? Bringing it back to, okay, for whatever that is, that's kind of a different conversation. But going, what is our role? What is our part in it? And part of it is, how do we use it? How do we take advantage of this new technology in our businesses to free up time, like Zane was talking about, to be able to be more human, to have time for the relationships. To Brett's point, talking about, better delivery to the customer to where they can then go, oh, now I can interpret and digest this information better on a human level. But beyond the how we use it, I'd love to look back at a couple times in history and go, where's my history buffs at? When you take a look back at what are the major times where we've had a historical shift, we've had a new technology that's come out. If we look at the before and after, we go, well, people adapted. But to Jonathan's point, there are some changes that happened, right? And I think that part of when we think of the new technology, what are we grateful for? And we go, man, the world didn't end. Again, the world didn't end. Again, there was no catastrophic, we're in underground bunkers with robots stalking us yet again. And we were worried about that. But there's another part where I do miss certain things on a human perspective from my childhood before there was all this technology. There's a fundamental difference. I love this. I use this. For anyone who's listening and not watching, this is my cell phone, my iPhone, right? I love this. And there's a point where I use this all the time for business purposes. It frees me up to empower me to have more relationships because I can reach more people quicker, shoot off a quick text, line up a meeting. Now I'm sitting down face to face for a coffee that could have taken a long time to line up, right? But I missed the time where I didn't walk into a room and everyone was face down working on something, where I was like wondering if I should bother them by asking them how they're doing or asking them about their day, because I might be bugging them because clearly they're in the middle of something or trying to signal that they're not available and don't want to interact, right?
I would push you to interrupt.
Yeah.
I would. There's another thing though, that I'm still puzzled with, and maybe you guys can help me with it. Our daughter-in-law, Erin, works for a company called Oracle. Oracle has been voted numerous times one of the top 10 companies to work for in the whole world. And they just laid off 300,000 people.
They've been in the database space for decades. And to put something like that into play within their organization, that's massive.
Where do those folks go now?
Yeah, it's one of those types of things. I remember bumping into a gentleman. This is right after the 08 crash. He was pretty bummed. He was just getting out of college. All this stuff he learned in college, and saying, what do I do now? I can't find a job. Find one, develop one, make one. I mean, the world is at your beck and call. It's creativity.
Well, it's which kind of feeds into my mission. Our mission is that we want to train those people better. On how to go make relationships and build that relationship. An army of people that they can go to for what next is going to look like.
Can I ask you, Dave, along those lines, would you give us just a quick overview, maybe just a couple of tips for how do you coach and train people to be able to develop that army of, referral relationships and people who are doing business together, even though they're not in the same business? And how do you use AI as a tool within your coaching program?
For the AI, the first answer is for the AI and for anything to do with customer service, what we do we spend a lot of time on.
Nice.
Spend a lot of time on note taking from the answers that we get from the questions we ask when we're interviewing them. Another part of that is that we try very hard to get our students to understand why it's so important for them to learn how to get the other person to talk first and to keep talking and just keep talking. So we have that, we have AI or customer service of some sort, making notes and recalling those notes. That's where it needs to be. It needs to be back, instead of COVID, of saying, well, I can just do all my jobs, from the couch. COVID did us a great disservice because we got to the point where we thought we didn't need to go talk to people and intermingle with people. Emily, you understand that. And so for me, I don't know, what would you say, Gabe?
Well, the thing that came up for me was that, it was something that you mentioned, and it was more of, we're talking about relationship with AI. Well, it's the relationship that you create with people when you shine a light on them, when you pay attention to them, when you let them know they matter. And how they feel that is by the quality of the questions that you ask. And so we do a lot of practice and mastery of setting that up so that you're comfortable with it. And you get really good at it so that when you come into a room, people remember you. They know who you are. They know how you made them feel. And that makes all the difference. And even if they never buy from you, because I'm going to say this all the time, we have a lot of people who have never bought from us, but they refer us all the time because of who we are.
Yeah, so there's that.
I love that. And one thing that really stood out was you talking about COVID, and how we kind of learned that we don't have to go out there to do business, right? Or whatever it is that we want to get done. I think that the hit that took place, and I really was thinking about this, Jonathan, when you were talking about, the people who got left behind, right? A huge part when you're talking about the, some of who got left behind. There's a lot of different socioeconomic factors, but mental health is a huge part of that, right? And when you look at the demographics of people who are, unhoused, and it's certainly not everyone, but massive portion are dealing with mental health and can't access medication. And so self-medicate becomes this horrible, snowball effect, right? All that being to say, the reason I mention that is because I think mental health became a pandemic after the pandemic. I don't think, I'm starting to see the recovery, but really what we're talking about in AI is one of the biggest keys to thriving with it instead of just surviving it, and actually to surviving it at all, is resilience. And that's a factor that we've lost. And I think there's that part that really, to Gabe's point of talking about how do we, what do we do for the next generation? How do we help guide and put guardrails? I think something we can do is really developing our own mental health and others' mental health by valuing the connections, the face-to-face interactions, the personal space, and taking the time to learn however we learn, but there's some great people in the room who can teach you, right? How to make people feel valued, seen, like they matter. And the difference maker that is, not just for your business, but for everyone's resiliency, is massive.
Let me go back to Rob, because Professor Reuter works with students all the time. I mean, how prepared are they with all of this stuff?
Well, this is a challenge, but I'm gonna sidestep that because I actually want to go to Debbie's original challenge and the historical perspective and tie it in with this. And I have two references. First, Circle Waste Fire is historically speaking one of the biggest events that happened in New York City that shifted the way American, convention ran. Coming out of the Industrial Revolution, everything was, we need labor, we're just gonna throw people in a building, we're gonna make this happen. And just has to put the goods out there. That's all that matters. And then the Circle Waste fire, and almost 300 human beings perished in one event. Most of them were mothers and sisters and things. And out of that came a movement, but the movement was based on empathy. People suddenly put themselves in the middle of, what are we doing here? What's going on with all of this? And we started to start saying, we need to put those guardrails up, but it started with the empathy. And that's what the networking and human connection. And the other reference I want to throw in, I posted it on the chat, but I've actually been living with this conversation since 1980. That was the year I picked up a book called Two Faces of Tomorrow. And it was authored by, all of a sudden he's slipping Hogan. Anyway, James Hogan. And he was actually talking about the age of AI in 1980, before the first LLM had ever been envisioned. And his whole story was about how you could teach autonomous agents empathy. And if you could teach them empathy, they had a chance not to be human, but to coexist with humans, to recognize that their intelligence and our intelligence are just two forms of the same thing. And what I love about the ending of that book is, of course, it's a positive ending. The AI learns empathy, and it ends because it suddenly realizes it has control of these dishes, and it starts pointing them out into the universe because it's fascinated by what's out there.
Wow, that's really fun. That's really fun.
So the core of today's conversation has to do with human in existence with AIs or AI agents. Okay, and years ago, 300-400 years ago, I was working on a program. 700 years ago, I was working on a program in
My apprentice.
Understand that AI is your friend, number one. Number two, embrace it. It is a tool. It is a tool that has the ability to evolve. Okay, it will not replace us. We're here today because we want to be here today because we're humans. Okay, we're not on Zoom, we're not on Google, we're here. Okay, so the idea of AI replacing or causing hardship, we know what we need to do as humans, and that is to coexist together and give each other's ideas and embrace each other. But I say to you, and I have a patent that's based on AI that we all collectively and all of our friends need to embrace AI and use as a tool to help us advance and have efficiencies in life that allow us to do what we need to do with our families. There, I'm done.
I love it. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up, and just want to say thank you to Dave for being with us and for sharing with us. But I think there's so much valuable perspective, and I love all of the perspective that comes into the work that Dave and Gabe are now doing, and really, really all of the technologies over time that they successfully navigated through, right? With resiliency, and now we're training other people to do that. And I think that's really, to jump off of what Todd was saying, that's the challenge. How do we use it? Not to replace our relationships, but that part of how do we help it to free up our time to help us to go farther to be human, to go like, okay, awesome, I'm so glad I got that done. I've got something working on my tasks behind the scenes right now, sending out, the mass emails or whatever it is, interacting, bots, interacting online. I know some people love it, some people don't. I use it, right? But I use it so that I can be free to have it generating beginnings of conversations and things that may turn into relationships over time while I'm in the room with you face to face. And that I think is the challenge, is how do we remain resilient and use it as a tool to take us farther and to give us time and freedom to be in this room. But let's remember to take time to put this down and to not be on it all the time, managing our AIs and
Yes,
just to
thank
go
you.
good enough, right? Let it do what it's do. We'll change it. We'll train it some more when we get some time, and it's okay for now. Well, I'll turn it back over to Jonathan to wrap us up. But thank you again.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. This was just the beginning of a really big conversation. And I know we joked about after hours and stuff, but I do want to welcome everybody into continuing this conversation one-on-one with different people that you know and trust. Don't just kind of like pick your lane and say, that's it, that's not what I believe, but really challenge, continue this conversation ongoing, which segues nicely into an invitation to come back next Friday. We do this every Friday, I think with the exception of next month is gonna be, we're gonna have a fifth Friday, and we're talking about what to do with fifth Friday, so that's, we'll figure that out and let you know. But we are starting to move around locations, so make sure that you reach out to somebody that's a regular that can tell you where we're gonna be. We're fingers crossed, hopeful that we have one location for next week, but it's not 100% locked. So I can't even tell you for sure where we're gonna be next week, but we will be somewhere in person together, even if it's my living room. We will be together in person next week. Rob Reuter, Idic Designs, thank you for lunch. Precision Driving Academy, thank you for hosting us at this amazing location here in Liberty Lake. And we will see you all next week.